Welcome to Twice the Terror. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Kat.
And we are your hosts. That's right, the show with twice the hosts, twice a month, bringing you, of course, Twice the Terror. Kat, what is our topic for today's episode?
Well, today it is my turn to tell you a spooky story that happened to me.
I'm excited. I know nothing about this. You haven't hinted at anything or said, so I am very curious to see
where this goes.
Yeah.
I had mentioned earlier that my story doesn't have any pictures that go along with it, so I'll have to use the paintbrush of the auteur, my words, to paint for you an image of Canton, Ohio.
Flat. The word is flat.
Canton, Ohio, named after Canton in China.
Really?
Is one of the vestiges of the Rust Belt. It is a former industry town located in Stark County, Ohio. For those of you from the Buckeye State who are aware of it, it is the home of the Football Hall of Fame, which is where my high school had their senior trip. So yeah, we are the home state of such famous individuals as Jerry Springer and Marilyn Manson.
Oof. Let's get some positive people. Markiplier's from Ohio.
Is he? I didn't know that. Okay. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
She's from Ohio. Okay, so like we got some fucking people, okay?
It's true.
Now, my high school had the option of driving an hour to Pittsburgh to go to like the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. No, fuck that shit. We're a 2-time fucking state championship football team. We're going to Canton. So I had a very good friend who I'd known throughout various periods of time in my life. Like I knew her as early as when I was in elementary school because it's a small town. Everyone kind of lived next to each other or neighbors to a neighbor with somebody at some point in time. And I reconnected with her when I was in high school. And we were just like, we were thick as thieves. We're going to go ahead and call her Muriel the sake of protecting identities and such. This high school friend of mine had lived in so many different places throughout her life. She had already graduated while I was still in high school, and I graduated in like 2011. So this is like the 2010s era. She's living in Canton with her grandmother at the time. So Muriel would call me all the time. We'd talk on the phone constantly, but she'd be like, hey, my dad's coming in from Steubenville and my uncle's coming in, or so-and-so's coming in from Burgles. Do you want to catch a ride with them out to Canton and come hang out with me? And I'd be like, sure. So I'd spend a whole weekend at her grandma's house with her. And Canton is this, like, you can tell it's a Rust Belt town. Like, there's just old factories everywhere. Like there's this one that's called like I think it's called the Harrison Paint Factory or something. There's the Timken factory, which is where Muriel's grandfather used to work. And these are like these looming red brick buildings with signs painted onto them. Timken has since, modernized over the years, but part of the factory that I remember is just this long stretch of highway. It's just steel factory and rusting machinery and tons of trucks coming through all the time. So like this is like heavily an industry town. There's also a fire department that was like near where she lived that had one of those sirens that goes off to signal shift change.
Mm-hmm.
And Muriel would fuck with me and be like, oh yeah, Timken's got this alarm that goes off in case something blows up. It's gonna kill everyone in a 20-mile radius. And I'd be like, eat glass, bitch. Like, why are you saying this? So you'd hear this like Silent Hill siren going off in morning, noon, night, whatever. Just fucking weird. Her and I spent most of the time hanging out in the attic, which is where her room was. And it was like a steepled roof, wood floors. She had a really big bed, which I thought was really surprising. It took up like most of that upstairs attic area. There'd be like a closet with no door, with just like clothes hanging up, and you could just kind of like see everything. You could look out and just look at the whole neighborhood, but it looked like an attic, and that's where we hung out and we had a good time because we're teenagers and really anything will entertain us. Her grandmother and her were definitely like eccentric people. Very fun. Uh, it's kind of hard to describe, but like they're just the kind of people who can command a space and like spin you a yarn, and you're literally in it. Like you're just in for this trip that they're about to take you on. Her grandma and her were both Christian and very devoutly so, but they had also at periods of time in their life had kind of dabbled in witchcraft and had like interest in witchcraft and some pagan practices. So they were also very open about that. Her grandma was very much about like cleansing spaces. They liked incense and crystals, and her grandma was very clear that she could see or at least sense spirits, and Muriel was very much the same way. And the two of them would kind of feed off of each other and like talk about the energy of the house, and they would say like, oh, there's clearly such an energy here, like they knew, like they always say like, oh, there's a spirit in this house for sure. They would take photos of the living room where we were all sitting together, and they would go through and point out all the orbs, and the whole time I'm like, bitch, that's dust. Like, Dennis, this is really just dust. But like, whatever. Like they were having their woo-woo moment, and I wasn't gonna like shit on it for them. Right. I was just like, okay, yeah, cool. The scariest thing in that house was the fucking bird. Her grandma was a bird person.
Okay, so it wasn't just like some random bird that just flew, like it was an owned bird, like it
was a fucking big ass African gray parrot.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit. He ate his way through a door. This guy was a monster. I was scared of him. So the whole time, like I never really felt uncomfortable there. I never really felt anything other than holy shit, keep that dinosaur away from me. But that's never really much to write home about. That being said, it's a new space. I always have trouble sleeping in new places. Like at anyone's house, I can't sleep during car rides. Sometimes I struggle in hotels. Anything other than the fact that it's just not my bed and it's not home. Even when I moved and I would live in different places for periods of time, I still, like, for those first couple weeks, like I really struggled to get my sleep schedule together. So I rarely slept well when I was hanging out with Muriel. Because she didn't have a TV up in the attic, we would watch it down in the living room. So it's like middle of the night, two teenage girls, we're up late, eating snacks, watching TV. Muriel passes out, and it's about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still up because I just can't fall asleep. And I hear this like thudding upstairs. And I was like, it's probably one of her dogs, because she did have 2 boxers at the time. So they're big dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But dogs have like, like the tippy tappy of their little claws on the wood floor.
Very much so. Yes. Yeah.
Like there's no carpet up there. It's all hardwood. So I don't hear like click, click, click. I hear like thud, thud, ka-thump, ka-thump. It's very even. It's very heavy. And it sounds like very distinctly like hard heel of a shoe down to the toe. So heel, toe. And it's walking over my head across the floor to where the stairs are. And it gets to the top of the stairs, and I'm like, no. You're funny. No. And then I hear, thump, thump, thump as it's coming down the stairs, and I'm like, I think the fuck not. Yeah. I hurl a pillow at Muriel. I'm like, bitch, get up. No, she is sleeping. Like, I hate you so much. I pull the remote out of her hands like they're trying to pull, like the early scenes of Young Frankenstein when they're trying to pull the box out of his hand. I'm pulling the remote out of her hands. And I'm cranking up the TV and pulling the blanket over my head. what did I choose in this moment to buff out the sound of a ghost coming to reap my soul? RuPaul's Drag Race. Thank you for asking. This thing is headed right at me, and I'm like, RuPaul's Drag Race, start your engines. Like, I'm not fucking with it. I'm on this couch, like, the power of mystique compels you. Like, I'm not having a good time. The next morning, they wake up, and I was like, the fuck was that? And like, I explained it exactly like how it happened. And I was like, it was not the dogs. I know it wasn't the dogs. And both of these women look at me and they go, oh, yeah, that's just grandpa. I'm like, what do you fucking mean it's just grandpa? And this this heifer proceeds to tell me. She says, her grandfather used to work for the Timken factory. And he didn't live far from there. It was maybe like a 5-minute drive or something like that. But he was a motorcyclist. And he was a thrill seeker his whole life. Like, he did skydiving and shit. So he loved his motorcycle. And he rode it every day. And unfortunately, he got into a motorcycle accident in the early 90s. So he dies at Altman Hospital from his injuries from the motorcycle accident. And Muriel's grandmother saves his motorcycle jacket, which is hanging upstairs in the fucking attic. No closet door, just chilling there. It's just chilling. So after breakfast, Muriel takes me up and just shows me his jacket. And I'm like, respectfully, the fuck. And like, Muriel's grandmother really did love her husband. Like, she did talk about him a lot. After that point, now that I know that he's there, her grandma would just like randomly be like, "Oh yeah, he's right here." You know, we'll call him Pete for the moment, but she'll be like, "Yeah, Pete's right here. He's right here." And I'm like, "Stop that! No. Pete, I respect that this is your home, but kindly fuck off."
Right.
I'm officially freaked the fuck out. And then when I finally get a ride back to Steubenville, I've never felt so grateful to be back in Steubenville in my life. I get back to the sulfur and brimstone smelling hellhole that is Steubenville, Ohio, and I was like, oh, thank God, like, I'm safe. So if anyone were to ask me, what would you do in a situation if you come across the paranormal? Clearly I don't respond well.
Now, did you ever stay at Muriel's place again and have like an encounter that extreme? Like, obviously you talked about like her grandma being like, "Oh, Pete's right here" and stuff, but like, were you ever there again where you heard like loud thudding or like footsteps or anything like that?
No, that was the only time I ever heard it.
Mhm.
And a part of me really wants to say, like, you know, I was sleep deprived, because I was. Or that like it was just the dogs knocking shit over, but it was just such a specific sound.
Mhm.
You know, the sound of boots.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
and nothing could have, like, I couldn't think of trust me, I searched. I obviously I wasn't alone up there. I wasn't
Right.
gonna go anywhere in that fucking house alone. I practically took Muriel to the shitter with me. Like, fuck this. We're pissing as a team. But I tried to like find a way to like recreate the sound, and I could not figure out what it was.
Mhm.
I I'm not quite sure. I think they did save his boots,
Mhm.
but I just remember specifically the jacket, as well as like some of his shirts were up there.
Well, and the jacket I think is enough. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing based on the situation, was it the jacket that he got in the accident in? So, yeah, exactly. Like that is
Yeah.
enough. If you, again, if you investigate or are interested in the paranormal like we are, there's a lot of theories that not only death, but high emotion or
Mm-hmm.
energy or things like that can really infiltrate objects. I mean, Greg and Dana Newkirk talk about it a lot, which is when they get objects for people, 99% of them do nothing for them. People will write in and be like, these are all the crazy experiences I had with this thing. They'll send to them and then it does nothing. And it's because that object either meant something to those people and it's not going to respond, or B, they've infused it with their own emotions. And, if there's
Yeah.
high emotion or high, situational energy or things like that in a place, arguments or, whatever, like it can have weird effects on
Yeah.
things.
And like I
And
said, Muriel's grandma was very, very like she talked about her husband all the time and was
Mhm,
like very much cared about him. So there's obviously like heightened energy on top of like losing someone so abruptly
right.
in such like a shocking way. There was a lot that I think that the whole like them as a family channeled into that particular item.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's kept there in the attic where Muriel stayed. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a constant reminder of seeing something of someone you cared about
Yeah.
that has passed, and it's always there. So whether it was haunted, I mean, that would be my guess. I mean, we don't know, but like whether it was haunted because that is what he not quite died in, but got in the accident that led to his death, or it's the energy they were imposing on it, thinking of him all the time or whatever. I mean, that's that. Did they keep the I know you were talking about that you lost touch with Muriel later on, but as far as you know, did they keep the jacket for the entire time you knew her and her grandma? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Her grandmother, they lived her I know her husband, Pete, had lived in Canton his entire life.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, grandma stayed there her entire life as well. Like she has been in the same house the entire time. So I can't imagine that very much has changed.
Mhm.
Um on top of that, like Muriel was also a very sentimental person. Like she would definitely have like certain objects of like reminded her of certain people that she held on to for long periods of time. So they definitely believed in like energy being attached to items. Muriel had also mentioned that in their like dabblings with witchcraft, that her grandmother had felt that there was something in the fact that there was some blood on his clothing.
Oh, did
And in
they? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. No, no, please continue.
no,
Continue.
I think you know where this is going. I think they tried a few things. Um, this is the Twice the Terror obligatory disclaimer to never practice witchcraft without someone special,
Right.
especially knowledgeable about this
Yes. Don't
nearby.
don't read it off like a book you bought at Barnes and Noble. That's like
Yeah,
101 spells you can do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
don't follow that shit. Go talk to somebody. And most people I know who practice witchcraft of some sort, most people will tell you like, don't fuck with shit you don't understand. Like it's
yeah,
fine to be interested and to learn, but don't just immediately jump in and do some crazy ass ritual or spell or like something that you don't fucking understand.
yeah,
Start with a
exactly.
simmer pot or something. Do
And then,
something low key, you know?
like for me, like witchcraft for me is like let's make a pretty candle. It's not let's
Right.
summon the dead. Like,
Yeah.
not that that's what they were trying to do or anything,
No, no, no.
you know.
But
But there was definitely like Muriel had mentioned that like there was some leavings behind, physical leavings behind on that jacket, and felt very strongly that that was a tie to this mortal coil.
mhm.
And again, I was just like, can you not? Also, she tried to get me to sleep in that bed after. I was like, no,
Yeah.
ma'am. First off, if anything happens, I know your ass ain't gonna wake up to help me. I'm fucking on my own here.
Yeah, no, that's just That is a fascinating story, and it's one where it's like, you gotta wonder. Obviously, this is I don't know Muriel or her grandmother or anything, but you gotta wonder, was it something that they tried to do, like you said, some sort of practice that they didn't quite understand in a high emotional state? I mean, if you lose somebody, you're willing to like try, a lot of people are like willing to try things to reconnect. That's why a lot of people end up turning to various religions or turn to, that sort of thing, because they need
psychics and
psychics, mediums, and all that stuff to try and, again, like, sometimes it's a positive thing, sometimes it's a negative thing, sometimes people deal with fraud, sometimes you deal with maybe something real, you don't know, but at the same time, like, that's a really like scary, dangerous thing, and that could have brought
a lot of problems.
a lot of not good, a lot of
Yeah.
not good to that house. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was dangerous from what you were saying. It doesn't sound.
No, I don't think. Uh, Now, okay, don't look poorly upon me, viewers and listeners, because as I must point out, I was a teenager. I'm from Appalachia or Appalachian, Ohio. Um, we partook in activities outside of the appropriate age range. So sometimes Muriel and I would get our hands onto adult beverages. And one time, Muriel, far worse off than I was because I was like, fuck no, there's a ghost in this house. Uh, Muriel was far worse off than I was and tried to climb the stairs and fell down and was like, what the fuck, Grandpa? And I'm like, I don't think Grandpa shoved you. I think you're just wasted, babe. Like, you're just a little hammer, babes. She's like, no, he would totally do that. And I was like, well, good on Grandpa for being like, get it together.
I mean, also, yeah, it's one thing we could say here at Twice the Terror. Don't, do not drink underage, and also, especially don't drink underage in a house that is haunted.
With a boomer ghost who's gonna
Right.
reprimand your ass. Or just an old house, because I'm pretty sure that it was either the stairs or just the fact that she's hammered to like wrecked her ass that night.
We'll never know. It
Yeah,
could
well,
have been either.
yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna put my money on those two, but she was instantly like, Muriel's just like, come on, Grandpa. And I'm like, dude. Maybe that's why he never bothered me, because I stood up for him in that moment. I was like, yeah, he didn't do it.
Yeah. Now, we've said it last week, but too, for anybody out there, if you like us doing this, please let us know. We can tell more stories. And if you have an interest in us telling your story,
Yeah,
go ahead
tell
and
us, please.
message us, on any of our socials. Try to contact us. We'd love to get in touch with people and read some stories that people have written. We'd love to do that. But I think we're going to close this out for this episode. Kat, would you like to sum everything up, close us all out for this particular episode?
Well, on behalf of a rather aggressive African gray parrot and and a dead man in at least size 12 Carhartt boots. Thank you for listening to our episode. We hope that you like, subscribe, and come back to us next week.
All right. And side note, now all I can think of is Barbosa when you said that at the end of yeah, with the no, it's the monkey. It's the monkey on his shoulder at the end.
But Dennis, if I had seen just like a parrot floating in the air, not moving, like it's sitting on someone's shoulder, I would.
You just hear, "What's become of me ship?" And then he just bites an apple. So fucking stupid.
I see you now, Muriel would find this shit fucking hilarious. Just not flapping its wings, just floating in a straight line.
Oh god. Right. Until next time, everyone.
Bye.